Hello and welcome. Thank you for listening. My name is Sarah Baumert. I'm a yoga teacher, Feldenkrais practitioner, and host of the Sarah B. Yoga podcast. The Sarah B. Yoga podcast and my practice, Body Matter, is an interdisciplinary learning space where we explore the many ways that movement can help facilitate body acceptance and awareness, reduce pain and stress, regulate the nervous system, and build strength and ease. My teaching plays with the synthesis of Feldenkrais awareness through movement lessons, traditional yoga asana, creative imagery, breathing exercises, self-massage, and a compassionate mindset to help you feel a greater sense of ease and comfort in yourself. Sarah B. Yoga and Body Matter have a lot of other program offerings. These podcasts are just a taste of my teaching. Each week I teach a range of online classes, including a gentle yoga class, a level 2 class for more advanced students, and Feldenkrais classes with monthly themes, anatomy lessons, and Q&A sessions for more in-depth study. I have 2 new online series offerings for the fall. A Feldenkrais series titled Coming to Your Senses, an exploration of the spaces of the eyes, the mouth, jaw, ears, vocal and breathing apparatus. And my second course, Wakeful Body, the blending of yoga and Feldenkrais on Monday nights. As one student recently described Monday nights, that felt like I just gave myself a massage. So these fall classes will be a continuation of some fan favorite stretching sequences that incorporate bolsters and other props to enhance the poses. There is still plenty of time to join these courses live or via the course recordings. You can find more information about these offerings in the show notes. Okay, on to today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Hello and welcome to the Sarah B. Yoga podcast. This podcast is an intersection of my yoga teaching and my training in the Feldenkrais method. Today's class is a continuation of the theme on neck care. Today we take a Feldenkrais approach to this topic by connecting the shoulders and the chest and the whole self to how the neck moves and how the neck can feel supported. With a poor postural organization, the muscles of your neck are often forced to work overtime in order to hold your very heavy head upright. And so they can easily become strained, overused, tense, sore, injured, and you may be very familiar with that, which is possibly why you've been listening to these neck care classes. And again, this is why I'm taking a really comprehensive look at the many ways that we can approach neck care. So if you're trying all of the neck classes in this little mini series of the podcast, then you can take note of which approach you're finding most helpful and most supportive for you, and then return to those episodes. To access all of the neck care resources, you can, of course, check out the previous podcast episodes on neck care, and I also have a free video class that works with some of these similar concepts. Links for that class can be found in the show notes. And if you particularly resonate with today's approach, you may want to check out my Freeing the Neck and Shoulders Feldenkrais series and or Unraveling Body Anxiety Feldenkrais series. You can also find those in the show notes. So for today's class, you will not need any props unless when you lie on your back, you prefer to have some kind of small lift under your head. And I really want to emphasize that this is not a big, bulky pillow or a soft, fluffy pillow that when you put your head on it, it might keep your head from actually moving. So if anything, this is going to be a folded, flat towel, something firm and flat that you will place underneath your head.
And you only need this if, when you lie on the flat surface, the floor, on your back, if when you do that, your neck feels really uncomfortable. You feel some discomfort, some pain, some tension. So try it out. Right now, you could just lie down on your back without anything underneath your head and feel what that's like. Take a couple of breaths. And then if you're curious, you can find something like a firm towel and fold it up. It can always get a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, and place it underneath your head and see if you can feel a difference. And if one feels more comfortable, if having a little something underneath your head feels more comfortable, then start there. Otherwise, you don't need anything, any props for this class. So maybe you're already there on your back. If you are not, please come and lie down on your back. And take a moment to notice how you meet the floor. Comparing your sides, compare the way the two sides of your pelvis meet the floor, your lower back, the right side compared to the left. Notice your two shoulder blades so that we really have a point of reference to return to during this lesson. How does your right shoulder blade rest on the floor compared to your left shoulder blade? Does one side feel more clear to you? Does one side feel like it approaches the floor in a different way? Maybe it's more flat or heavy. And then observe how your head and your neck are lying on the floor. Now, the back of the neck usually is not on the floor. We have a curve there. But you could bring attention to the tone, the kind of comfort or discomfort that you feel on the two sides of your neck. And then while you're lying, measure the distance from your right ear to the top of your right shoulder, as if there was an imaginary string there from the right bottom of the right ear to the top of the right shoulder. And then do the same thing. Measure the distance between the bottom of your left ear to the top of your left shoulder. And so if there was a string on each side between these places, which side would be longer? Which string would be longer? Or are they really even? And then just sense where the back of your head contacts the floor. Slowly begin to roll your head a little bit from one direction to the other direction, and respecting this movement so that you're only moving as much as is comfortable for your neck. And you may be able to then pay attention to and notice if one direction is easier. Turning the head one direction may feel more smooth. It may feel like you can go a little bit farther in one direction with comfort. And as you gently roll your head from one side to the other, do you feel any movement in yourself lower down beyond your neck, in your chest, or farther down into your spine? And so if you feel any strain in your lower back right now or at any point during the lesson, you can bend your knees and stand your feet. Otherwise, let your legs remain long as they are now. And bring the palms of your hands together so that they're touching as if for praying. And with the palms together, extend your arms towards the ceiling so that your arms are straight. And pause here. Both elbows are straight, the palms are together, and take a moment to see if you can soften your shoulders a little bit. We'll call this the triangle position. And there's some constraints here. The first constraint is that the elbows can't bend. And the second constraint is that your palms don't slide away from one another. So you could imagine you have something a little bit sticky on the palms so that they have to stay together. Your fingers are pointed right towards the ceiling. So the arms are vertical and then palms together, fingers towards the ceiling. And with the arms like this, could you make a very small, slow movement of lifting just your left shoulder a little bit away from the floor? And just what's easy, and then you let it come back to the floor. Keeping your hands together. And doing this a few times, lifting the left shoulder away from the floor, and then bringing the shoulder back to the floor. And once the shoulder comes back to the floor, can you pause? Rest. And the rest could even be longer than the time that it takes to lift the shoulder. And after 3 or 4 times of doing this lifting of the left shoulder, if you feel like you want to rest your arms, you just bring them down, rest for a moment. And then when you're ready, you come back and you resume the movement with the triangle arm shape. The most important thing here is that you just do what's comfortable. The effort that you're making is only in the left shoulder. And you can start to feel for where you could reduce the effort. Maybe in your right arm, your right shoulder. Could you reduce some of the effort in your hands? Good. And slowly bring your arms back down to the floor. Rest for a moment. And close your eyes if that's comfortable. And just observe if there's something a little bit different about how your left shoulder blade is lying on the floor compared to the right. Perhaps after that small movement, you already feel a change. And now bring your palms together again. Lift your arms towards the ceiling into the triangle shape. Take a moment to feel how the shoulders can be soft, the palms can be soft. And this time, open your eyes and look at your thumbs. And when you lift the left shoulder away from the floor, can you use that movement to move the triangle, to tip the triangle a little bit to the right? And as you do that, let the eyes and your nose follow your thumbs. So you may feel that your head turns a little bit to the right as the triangle arms tip to the right. And then you bring the triangle arms, the head, and the eyes back to the middle. Pause, and then try it again. Initiating that movement by a little lift of the left shoulder, slowly reducing the effort to do this action of tipping the triangle to the right and letting your eyes and your head, that could mean your eyes and your nose, follow your thumbs. And it doesn't matter if the movement here is only 1 inch. You're just doing what's comfortable for yourself. And then making sure that each time you come back to the original position, back to the center, and that you pause before you begin again. And as you take the triangle to the right, where do you feel the movement stop? What is it that's restricting the movement? What's keeping the arms from tilting to the right all the way to the floor? So just observe as you're doing this slowly where you could reduce some muscular effort. Maybe your jaw, maybe your neck, maybe your buttocks, your legs. Great. Let that go. Bring your arms down and rest. Have your legs long if they were bent. Close your eyes and observe the contact of the floor, the left shoulder compared to the right shoulder. Even for a moment, feel the two sides of your face, your left eye compared to your right eye. Maybe you'll feel a difference. And this time, keep your right leg long and bend your left leg so that your left foot is standing and your left knee points to the ceiling. Bring your palms together, straighten the arms so that the fingertips point to the ceiling and you have this triangle shape. Open your eyes and look at your thumbs. And slowly do this original movement we've been doing of lifting the left shoulder just a little bit from the floor, tipping the triangle to the right while you look at your thumbs. And when you do that, push your left foot against the floor in such a way that you can start to roll your pelvis to the right. And just slowly doing what's easy. And then you come back to the middle, your pelvis comes back, the triangle, the eyes, the nose comes back to the middle. And repeat that slowly. And so maybe you move the triangle another inch or so to the right. Or maybe even more than that, because you're now including the movement of the pelvis. We're not seeing if we can use more muscular effort or if we can strain more to take the arms farther. We're interested in improving the movement by using connections, our sensitivity, the innate intelligence of these connections of the body. That's right. And the left knee remains pointed towards the ceiling. So as you push the left foot a little bit into the floor, the pelvis will tip to the right as the triangle arms and the head and the neck roll to the right. But your left knee is pointed at the ceiling. Great. Let that go. Bring your arms down. Take your left leg long. And just observe the sensations of the left side of your neck compared to the right. Does one side of your neck feel softer? And could you take a moment to just let your mouth open so that you feel any kind of letting go in your jaw, looking for a sense of space inside of your mouth, a width, a depth inside of the mouth. And try rolling your head to the right. Feel what that's like. And then try rolling your head to the left. And just noticing if one side feels easier, if one side of the neck feels softer. Listening to how all of the back parts of yourself are lying, and listening to your breath. Okay, so go ahead and keep your legs long. Make the triangle with your arms, the palms together. And now very slowly just begin to lift your right shoulder a little bit away from the floor. And make sure that as we start to get curious about this second side, that you really begin at the beginning so that you don't get ahead of yourself. The interest here is in learning, not so much by doing, but we're interested in this process of learning. So going very slowly, your attention is on how can you reduce the effort? How can you lift the right shoulder and take the triangle arms to the left? Is there a place you can reduce the effort? Maybe your left arm, your left hand can soften. Maybe there's some place in your chest that can yield and make it a little bit easier for the arms to stay straight and for that triangle shape to tip a little bit to the left. And making sure that you take a true pause and rest between each repetition of the movement. Okay, go ahead and stop that and just bring your arms down. Rest for a moment. Bring your palms together. Extend the arms towards the ceiling. And now open your eyes. Look at your hands. And follow the movement of your arms with your head and your eyes. Lifting the right shoulder, letting the arms, the triangle arms tip to the left, letting your chest roll a little bit, your upper back roll, and your eyes and your head follow your thumbs. And then you bring everything back to the middle. Looking for a sensation that the movement can be simple. As soon as you feel that you hold your breath or that the tone gets very tight somewhere, once there's that quality change, you know you've become aware that you're invoking more effort. So can you have the same quality that you might feel at the very beginning of lifting the right shoulder, the ease of lifting the right shoulder throughout the entire movement? And notice as you let your head turn to the left and your eyes follow your hands as they tip to the left. Does anything change in your chest, in your upper back? Can your right shoulder lift a little bit higher with the same amount of ease now that you're starting to include some other areas of you? Okay, rest for a moment, bring your arms down. And just observe, has anything changed now with the contact of your right shoulder blade to the floor? Or maybe you feel the changes in contact with the floor somewhere very different, somewhere else in the body. All of us have a unique response to each lesson. And we're not looking for one uniform response from everyone. So now please bend your right knee, stand your right foot. So your right knee points to the ceiling. Take the palms together and take the arms towards the ceiling so you make the triangle shape. And very slowly a few times as you lift your right shoulder blade from the floor and tip the triangle to the left, you push the right foot a little bit against the floor in order to help you roll your pelvis a little to the left, quite slowly. And then you return, you bring the pelvis, the arms, the eyes, the head back to the middle. Keeping the breath relaxed. And the entire movement is produced by doing something with your right shoulder, something with your right foot pushing into the floor. And beyond that, can you reduce the intention everywhere else throughout yourself? Can you feel a kind of yielding, a softening to what's happening with your foot, the power of your foot pushing into the floor, and the lifting of the right shoulder? And letting your eyes follow your thumbs. Noticing how this can feel pleasurable. Maybe it's just a general release of tension to be moving in a different way, to be moving slowly. Great. Let that rest. Bring your arms down and lengthen your right leg. And so in awareness through movement lessons, these Feldenkrais lessons, you may find that you only need to do the movement a few times before there's a change. And so it's not a matter of a big change occurring because we are stretching a muscle or we're exercising a muscle or activating a muscle in a particular way. But we're actually changing and maybe improving the way that we do something or how we do something. And this lesson is a very classic Feldenkrais lesson, some classic movements here. So now go ahead and just let your head roll a little bit from one side to the other. The eyes could be closed or open and feel what that's like. Remember, you're not pushing the head. You're not seeing how far you can go. But you are curious about how far do you go with ease. And maybe that's a little bit different from the beginning of the lesson. Okay, so let's try one other thing. Interlace your fingers and bring your hands to your forehead. So your palms will be on your forehead and your elbows might be a bit out to the side, but you're actually taking the weight of your hands and placing them onto the forehead so that we're fixing the head right now in space. So you feel where the back of the head meets the floor, and you'll keep it there. And with your legs long, can you start to tilt the pelvis in one direction and the other? So maybe your right pelvis lifts a little bit as you tip the pelvis to the left, and then your left pelvis lifts a little bit as you tip the pelvis to the right. And your legs are long, so this isn't going to be a huge movement. You may feel that one side of the pelvis is easier to lift than the other. And just follow the turn and the twist of the pelvis up into the spine. So remember, your head is fixed. You're not efforting a lot through the arms. You're keeping attention that the neck and the jaw is soft, but the head stays where it is. And now the other parts of you are turning relative to your head. And see if you can feel how far up your spine you can sense the movement? Does the tipping of the pelvis make it all the way up into the neck? Like maybe yes, maybe no. Can you feel a place in the chest that could slide a little bit? Okay, let that rest. Bring your arms down. And bend your knees. Stand your feet. Both feet are standing about shoulder distance apart. Interlace your fingers again and place your hands on the forehead so that you fix the head in place. And with your feet standing, now tilt your pelvis to the right and to the left and allow your knees to move through space. And just like we were doing a moment ago, follow the twisting of the spine as far up the spine as you can feel the movement. Maybe you feel the chest turning, or maybe you feel the movement a little bit higher up and you're keeping the head quiet. This is somewhat opposite of what we normally do in life. We normally move the head and the neck a lot. So we're keeping the head quiet. Maybe you can bring a little attention to your sternum. Could your sternum help you? Is the chest softening a little bit? Notice the chest as you exhale compared to when you inhale. And let all of that rest. Bring your arms down. Let your legs lengthen. And gently roll your head a little bit to one side and the other. Feel the ease in your jaw. And just feel if there is a new sensation, a new ease beginning to appear in your neck muscles or in your spine while you turn the head. And is your awareness of everything below the neck and the head different? And so just observe the feeling of contact with the floor. How did the two sides of your pelvis meet the floor? The two sides of your lower back. Compare the right shoulder blade to the left shoulder blade. Does anything feel wider about how your upper back meets the floor compared to when we started? And notice the distance from your right ear to your right shoulder and your left ear to your left shoulder. And so you're just looking, you're just curious about what maybe has changed, what you're interested in now, what you can notice now. You can continue to rest on the floor, or you can see how these movements have changed the way you feel when you sit up and when you stand. But take a little bit of time before you return to the activities of your day, a few moments to transition, to feel and appreciate any differences, even if that means that it's simply a difference that maybe your nervous system feels a little bit more calm. Maybe there wasn't a big change in your neck, but you feel a little bit more grounded. And if you can just take some time to be with that, appreciate that, it's more likely that whatever improvement or whatever changes happened will become more integrated into the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, into your activities. And so this is an abbreviated version of a longer lesson with many more variations. Again, if you're interested in any of those resources, you can find them in the show notes. Thanks so much.
Are you enjoying this podcast? I've chosen to offer these audio recordings freely for over 15 years. I do this because research shows yoga, yoga nidra, and Feldenkrais to be valuable practices, those which I would like to share widely. Dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity, has always been a pillar of my business. And more generally, dana is the inclination to give without expecting any form of repayment. It does, however, take a fair amount of time, effort, and cost to maintain and keep the podcasts available. If you feel you've benefited from what you've learned from these classes, then please do consider making a contribution towards the maintenance and upkeep of the classes. It will help ensure that I can continue to offer the podcast classes freely and keep generating new material. Give what you can. Give what feels good. If it's too little, it won't feel good. If it's too much, it won't feel good. Links to support the show monetarily can be found in the show notes. And other ways to give include sharing the podcast with others, leaving a 5-star rating and review, or just sending me an email with how the classes have affected you. Thanks so much.